Things got messy when Senator Chris Van Hollen grilled Attorney General Pam Bondi in a hearing that instantly went viral.
I guess the direct question is, he says he was fired because he didn't want to make an untruthful statement to a court of law.
Imagine building your career for 15 years, only to watch it all crumble because you refuse to bend the truth. That's the situation Erez Ruveni says he found himself in. Once recognized for his work at the Department of Justice, even earning praise during the Trump years, Ruveni now claims he was shown the door, not for breaking the law, but for standing his ground.
Yesterday, Erez Ruveni filed a whistleblower complaint against the Department of Justice. As I think you know, he was a 15-year veteran of the Department of Justice. He received commendations during the first Trump administration for all his work at DOJ.
According to him, the pressure came when he was asked to sign off on an appeal brief he believed had no real legal or factual support. He refused. The cost? His job. In his own blunt words, "I didn't sign up to lie." That single statement now sits at the center of what could be one of the most alarming whistleblower cases the DOJ has faced in a long time. But the real mess was still to come.
But he filed a detailed account of his recent experience at the Department of Justice, saying that prior to his determination, that he was terminated after he refused to sign an appeal brief that was unsupported by evidence or the law. And he says, "I didn't sign up to lie."
When asked about Ruveni's firing, Bondi didn't deny it. Instead, she doubled down, proudly citing her Fox News statement. "At my direction, every DOJ attorney is required to advocate on behalf of the United States zealously, and any attorney who fails to abide by this direction will face consequences."
In response to his termination, you made a statement on Fox News a little while ago saying, "At my direction, every Department of Justice attorney is required to zealously advocate on behalf of the United States, and that any attorney who fails to abide by this direction will face consequences."
But hold on, what does zealously advocate even mean here? Is that just a polished way of saying, do what I say, even if it's wrong? Van Hollen wasn't buying it. He shot back with the obvious. Does zealous advocacy include making false statements to a court?
So General Bondi, I guess the direct question is, he says he was fired because he didn't want to make an untruthful statement to a court of law. I have two questions. Number one, I assume you agree that zealous advocacy does not mean telling untruths to courts of law. And second, if that's not the case, what did you mean by saying he was not a zealous advocate?
Bondi dodged, hiding behind legal jargon, pending litigation, and even suggested the timing of Ruveni's complaint was politically motivated because it landed on the same day as the hearing for her close ally, a mall boy, who's up for a federal judgeship. But hold on, before you jump to conclusions, this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Senator Van Hollen, this is all pending litigation, as you're well aware, and the timing of it, I can't discuss pending litigation. This is a whistleblower lawsuit pending within my office, but I will say the timing of it I find suspect, as he takes hits at Emil Bovee, who is one of the best human beings I know, one of the smartest, brilliant men I know, who will soon become a federal judge. And his hearing happens to be today, and I find the irony of the timing of it pretty remarkable, the lawsuit.
That defense didn't convince anyone. Instead of addressing facts, Bondi praised her allies, calling a mall boy one of the best human beings I know, and showering compliments on her deputy, Todd Blanche.
This had to do with attorney-client privilege information that was disclosed. I can't talk about the substance, but what I will tell you, and you have obviously my word, any zealous advocacy means to be done ethically and honestly, always. And that's what I mean by zealous advocacy. He also accused Emil Bovee of things that Todd Blanche, who is one of the best human beings I also know, my deputy attorney general, was in the room and said did not happen. But again, I wish I could get into greater detail. I can't because it's pending. But I stand by Emil Bovee and I stand by Todd Blanche every day, and I always will.
That's not accountability, it's loyalty politics. And when the head of the DOJ starts sounding more like a hype woman for her inner circle than a defender of justice, what message does that send to every other attorney inside the department? Van Hollen didn't stop there. He warned that Ruvini's case isn't isolated. Other DOJ staffers have quietly voiced concerns about being pushed into unethical work. This looks less like a one-off firing and more like a dangerous culture shift where loyalty trumps truth and honesty is treated as a liability.
Well, Madam Attorney General, I will say that his account seems to have lots of information. So as you say, this will obviously be something that's litigated or reviewed through due process procedures. But I have to say that it's very, very disturbing.
And as if that wasn't alarming enough, Van Hollen also spotlighted another bombshell. The DOJ suddenly slashed funding for hundreds of programs supporting law enforcement, victim services, and training, some of which had been running since 2017.
The DOJ grant funding is being sort of cut back on two fronts. One, in April, the department terminated hundreds of grant awards, notifying grantees that their current grant funds were gone, effective immediately. That included, law enforcement training grants, technical assistance awards, some dating back to fiscal year, I think, 2017. So
these weren't minor cuts. They were abrupt terminations that left shelters, legal aid groups, and victim programs scrambling for survival. Real people, not just numbers on a spreadsheet, are paying the price.
Question number one is, are you going to be releasing those funds? The second concern regarding grants has to do with the monies that were appropriated in this fiscal year, in March, and my understanding is that DOJ is withholding an overwhelming number of notices of funding opportunities, NOFOs, meaning that grantees who rely on these grants, including many who provide services to victims of crimes, are literally in some cases running out of money. For example, the department's biggest grant-making component, the Office of Justice Programs, has only posted one notice for fiscal year 25, NOFO notice. So,
when pressed, Bondi brushed it off, claiming it was only a 6% cut and suggesting senators could just call her personally if they wanted grants restored.
If you could answer the question with respect to both those pieces.
Sure, and that's a very valid question, Senator. The notices will be going out in coming weeks about the grants. And we did cut grants by 6%, and I'm here to tell every senator, if we did cut a grant that you care about that is specific to your state, please contact me. I've turned on grants that were cut off.
That doesn't sound like a fair funding strategy. It sounds like political favoritism. And when she was held accountable, this is what she had to say.
To look at that, I never want to take away a grant that is actually helping Americans, helping victims, helping law enforcement, and we're looking at it on a case-by-case basis, and many of those are being appealed already, but you have my word, we will look at all of those, absolutely.
Thank you.
To make matters worse, she admitted the DOJ has been withholding notices for new grant applications, leaving organizations in limbo. Some are already running out of money while they wait for priorities to be finalized.
Notices for information will go out because the fiscal year obviously is, running out, and we are hearing from lots of entities that are waiting for those notices so they can apply for the grant funding.
Yeah, yes, Senator. The notice of funding is consistent with our priorities, and they're finalizing it right now. It will be going out very shortly.
But whose priorities? Throughout the hearing, Bondi leaned on vague promises, legal shields, and constant praise for her team. What she didn't do was answer the core issue, why a long-serving DOJ attorney felt cornered into choosing between his job and the truth.
Thank you.
It'll be posted on a rolling basis, too, I believe.
Okay. If you could just keep us posted on that. And I would appreciate it, Madam Attorney General, if you could have your team or respond to a letter that about 30 senators wrote to you on this topic of the prior fiscal year funds that were frozen.
I will make sure they look at that letter. I think we've received probably thousands of letters.
You've got lots of letters. But we really do need, in order to do our job, to get responses. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And that's the heart of it. Suppose the DOJ, the very body meant to uphold justice, is silencing whistleblowers, protecting its image over transparency, and treating ethical lawyers as expendable. In that case, this isn't just about one man's firing, it's about whether the system itself is cracking. So here's the bigger question. What kind of justice system are we building? One where truth tellers are valued, or one where they're discarded the second they refuse to play ball? Because if honesty is now considered a liability inside the Department of Justice, then accountability everywhere else doesn't stand a chance. What do you think? Should whistleblowers be protected no matter what, or are we watching transparency die in plain sight? That's it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching.